Last year, 15-year-old Priscilla Sante's young life was cut short. Her dream of becoming a nurse unfulfilled, leaving a void in the hearts of many. Her mother's voice joined the choruses across the country in calling on government to reduce the cost of dialysis in order for many to live. Priscilla was not the last to die. Many have died, and countless numbers are in the queue waiting to die because they can't afford to pay the cost of dialysis. 33-year-old Salas Mensah teary after hearing the announcement of the increase.
$490 for a day, so in that week when it comes to it, costs you about $1,000.
He briskly calculates the amount of money he would now have to pay in order to live.
As for me, I don't have anybody. A guy saw me in Kumasi and then he told me to help me. If the price go high like this, I'm crying for the guy now. So that is now my greatest fear.
I was working at GES. I came, a year I came retirement, and I came then this thing started. It has been a very hard because of the money aspect of it. And right now too, it has been increased. So it is not easy.
Gabriel Mensah retired from the GES last year. Shortly after his retirement, he was diagnosed of the diseases. The weight of this announcement is evident in his voice.
The payment aspect is serious. Serious. We are going to die. We are going to die.
Patients here are angered by this announcement. Their anger is sandwiched with the never-ending plea to government to reconsider its decision. For 37-year-old Jackson, government can't simply send them to their early grave. Something urgent must be done.
Even the people were dying because of the previous cost. They were not able to afford the costs involved. I don't understand the government. I don't understand. Adding medication, lab costs, and dialysis fee, very difficult. So sometimes you think that, oh, Charlie, if you die, cry, it will be okay. So that your burden on the family and the friends will be over. And they use the money to do other things.
For these cocktail of stories told differently by different patients at the dialysis unit of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital revealed despair, disappointment, anger, and betrayal by government.
It's kind of getting us more devastated.
For Thomas Vincent Khan, this is his 11th year being on the dialysis machine. He is surprised the loud voices that were raised by patients and other advocates could not get government to reduce the cost of dialysis.
Because already with the 350, we always struggle to even come to the hospital for dialysis. So for such an announcement, especially at the time that we've made a lot of noise asking for a reduction, even on the 350 that was being charged, and then we wake up and the next thing we are hearing is that rather the prices are going to go up. It has never been easy. I have been on dialysis for 11 years, and throughout the 11 years, it has never been an easy road.
For each second that the dialysis machine here beeps, death keeps its eagle eyes on the patients, ready to snuff out the life in them.
It got to a time somebody came and told us that she wants the line to be removed because she knows she cannot afford the daily session. That was around 350 cedis per session. And then she told us we should remove the line so that she will just go and die because she cannot continue the session again. In fact, we did everything. We tried to source funds for him, but there's nothing we could do because the mind was made up. She was fed up. Looking at she had children in the house, and every week she keeps coming here pumping money, and then it seems there's no hope for her, so she decided to end it.
Head nurse at the dialysis unit here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Eunice DeGraft Ishent, says being on dialysis is like a death sentence and a lot of support is needed to help the management of the diseases.
Then sometimes, most of them, they come in the acute phase, so even getting the access, the temporal catheters, and then starting their first 2 or 3 sessions is a problem. So in these instances, management will come in so that we will start the dialysis as the relatives also go and look for funds to come and support.
Here at the dialysis unit of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, many machines have broken down, compounding the problems of the patients. The patients now have to queue as early as 1 a.m.
2/3 of our machines have broken down, and then coupled with the stresses, they're already not feeling well, and they have to come here as early as 1 a.m.
Unfortunately, apart from the cost that is even, giving us problems, you come in here and there are not enough machines, because every day they are being new, they are diagnosing new patients who, so it means that the numbers keeps adding on. And unfortunately, when you come here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, we're only left with just 4.5 machines.
Why do you say half?
I say half because there's one machine that somebody has to sit by it, and then every 30 seconds, the person has to be present because it's not fully functioning.
Public Relations Officer of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Fred Yanka, says the hospital will continue to support the patients as they go through these emotional journeys.
There has been a strict instruction that you don't send a patient out because he or she is owing. So even though some of these our patients are owing, anytime they come, we still take care of them, and we are still going to take care of them till something come in for them to get some funds to take care of their bills.
For every tear that drops, for each heart that bleeds, for every hope that's dashed, and for each penny that these patients, their families, and other benefactors spend in their attempt to keep these patients alive, they call on government to support them to live a little while longer by reducing the cost of dialysis.
We still live in a dialysis crisis, and which one of us would want to be in such a situation? It's so pathetic. So pathetic. It's heartbreaking. But we start the conversation. Let me just acknowledge the presence of, joining the conversation, Dr. Elliot Granting at Tannor. He is senior lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's a senior specialist and consulting nephrologist at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. Dr. Tannor, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, and how are you doing?
Well, I could be better, and especially with some of these stories, you just get emotionally charged because these are brothers and sisters, and it could happen to any one of us. But please give me just some 30 seconds. Let me also introduce those who are joining me in the studio, and I'll come right back to you. We have 2 brothers here who themselves are suffering some kidney-related diseases. Desmond Enoch Bracco is here. We also have Kweku Kwate. Brothers, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And thanks for joining the conversation. I'll be coming to you shortly to share your stories with us. But let me go back to Dr. Tannor. I'd just like you to break it down for us, educate us. Kidney disease and the rise in all of these diseases. What exactly should we know? What are the diseases that can affect the kidney, and why is there the spike that we are seeing nowadays?
All right, thank you very much, Ben. And good morning to your viewers and listeners. It is very important that we realize now that what is killing us nowadays are not the infections anymore. Gone are the days where we used to worry so much about infections, TB, HIV, and so malaria, and so on and so forth. But in this dispensation, now the so-called non-communicable diseases are the major killers. Now, what is driving this canker of chronic kidney disease? The major drivers are diabetes and hypertension. Now, unfortunately, these non-communicable diseases are also on the rise. So in Ghana, for instance, you take people above 18 years, about 1 out of 4. In fact, in a study that we did even in Ashanti region, it was 1 out of 3 people that you see above 18 have hypertension. That is worrying. And the chunk of these people with hypertension might end up developing kidney disease. Now it's hypertension month, so probably I'll delve a bit more into it, that if you are here or you are listening or you are watching and you've not checked your blood pressure this month, please do so, because it's actually one of the ways we are easily able to pick whether you have kidney disease and be able to at least pick it early enough so we don't run ourselves into trouble. So that is one. 2, diabetes. Again, diabetes is very common and it's rising. When we're in medical school or before then, they used to say, oh, these diabetes, hypertension are, diseases of the white people and disease of the rich. It is not true anymore. The rich are getting it, the poor are getting it. Virtually people, everybody is getting it. The young, the old are getting these diseases. And when these diseases are not managed well, and that is also another problem, sometimes people don't check to know that they have it. When they have it, they don't even check to ensure that it is well controlled, and they run into trouble in terms of developing some of these complications, including kidney disease later in life. I'm sure some of your panelists in the studio will let you know that I'm sure they have hypertension. And that was the first thing that they picked that probably made them check the kidneys and all. So let's not underestimate hypertension. Let's not underestimate diabetes. Putting these 2 major ones aside, there are also, in our part of the world, what we call the chronic glomerulonephritis. It's a huge word, don't worry about it. But what it means is that the filtering apparatus of the kidney tends to run down. And what are some of the things that will cause it to run down with time? Diabetes, hypertension are one, but there are some other things we don't know. Sometimes they come in so late, you cannot even investigate. We believe that some people might have genetic predisposition that might cause them to develop the condition, and others by virtue of habits, and that's where we can delve a bit more into habits. What are some of these habits? People are not drinking enough water. People are taking all sorts of toxic medications into their system. Now, what is clear is that any food, water that you drink, after the nutrients have been picked out, whatever trash that is left of what is in the food has to come out of 2 places. Either you poo it out or you pee it out. Now, the point is that if it is going through your urine, depending on the toxic nature of the things you have taken, it can affect your kidney function. And this can happen gradually over a period of time. So depending on the toxins you are taking, then chances are that in 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, or some of the people you interviewed mentioned that at their retirement, so it all depends. And that is why we need to be careful about things we take in, especially medications, even from orthodox medications that we write even in the hospitals. And again, mostly the herbal medications that we are not clear on in terms of what people are taking into their systems. All right. So we need to be careful. Smoking, alcohol. Now there are all sort of alcoholic beverages on our markets, and sometimes you don't know what it's in these alcoholic beverages, and our young people are taking them left, right, front, center. Let's be careful. Now, somebody might say, okay, I don't do all of these things, but I still ended up developing it. And that is why it is important that with time, once a while, as we grow, our kidneys are helping with all of its function over years. As we grow, the function tends to deteriorate. And for you to be able to know that it's deteriorating, and for the doctor to let you know that, listen, it might be A, B, or C that is in your blood that is causing it to deteriorate, to probably slow it down, then you will not know. And normally, anytime I speak, what I say is that the kidney functions goes down like our mobile phones go down in terms of the battery. Right. So typically, when you start off in the morning, it is actually probably about 100% when it's fully charged. As you are speaking, it is dropping. And that's how our kidney functions drop until it gets to a point where it cannot hold you anymore. And then that will be low battery for your phone, but for the kidney now, you are not able to eat, you are not able to drink, and you are feeling very sick. And people might think it's malaria. It's unfortunately not malaria. It might end up being kidney disease. So this is my opener, and depending on the questions, we can take it up from there. Thanks.
And we shall. Let me acknowledge, joining the conversation as well, pharmacist Ronald Aintree. He is Assistant General Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. Pharmacist Ronald Aintree, a very good morning to you, sir. Do we have Mr. Aintree on the line? Please unmute for me, sir. Mr. Aintree, please unmute.
Good morning, Ben. Sorry.
Great.
And good morning to your listeners as well.
Right. Please just give me a minute. I have a brief follow-up for Doc, because when I come to you, I may lose track and not go back. So one thing I do every morning is to drink at least 500 milliliters of water, at least consciously, because of some of these. Who knows? Some will also say if you put too much water in your system, it could affect you. But I just wanted you to clarify those habits you were talking of: food, drink, lack of exercise, other habits. What are you looking at? The other day in Osu, I found something very interesting. I was somewhere driving by, and this gentleman came with what I suspect is an aphrodisiac. I've never touched any of those in my life, but I know that a lot of people, you don't even know what the contents are, and they are buying these things and consuming them. I just want you to look at those habits briefly and summarize on them before I go to the pharmacist and then come into the studio. Doc.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And indeed, I like your habit of trying to drink some water every morning. That is very helpful. I mean, very, very helpful. And the advice for that habit is that if you end up taking a lot of water, you actually decrease the stress on your kidney. So then you are able to ensure that it lasts a lifetime. All right. So that is very important. Good habit, continue it. And those who have not started it, please do make sure you are drinking enough water. More especially now that the weather is super hot, we probably need to take in a lot of water. Now, two, food. Now, the important thing is that in terms of food, let's try and make sure at first, typically, the average Ghanaian food is, kabu kabu. What did you eat this morning? Is yam or banku or kuku and all of that. It's all the kabu we are talking about. Ideally, the food should be more vegetable, fruit laden. The carbohydrate probably should be about a quarter of your plate, and then the the protein and all probably will take a quarter. So you, in terms of what you eat, try and make sure there are more vegetables and fruit. Now, the content of the food, salt is always a problem. Ghanaians like so much salt. A lot of salt has been associated clearly with hypertension. So let's cut down our salt. Let's not wait to get hypertension first before we cut down our salt. And that is actually also very important. You mentioned the exercise, which I think is very important. Now, you might be too busy, not have time to exercise and all, but use your daily activities as an exercise. You need to speak to somebody in the next office or the next block. Why don't you just take a walk to the place instead of, picking up a phone and call? Why don't you use the stairs instead of using a lift? I mean, basic things I advise my patients to be able to exercise, because Charlie, time no day. So we probably have to look for all the other means to ensure that at least we are moving and not sitting for so long. The aphrodisiacs, young men, I mean, all sort of, and like you are saying, and that's my worrying bit. People don't even know what they are taking, and they are just taking it because it has some potent something that they will give to you. And what I say is that as a young man, you keep taking those aphrodisiacs, go sleep with those 10, 20 women. Now, when your kidney functions run down, they will leave you and go to somebody who probably has, well-functioning kidneys, okay? And probably you'll be dead and gone. So please don't be in an aim of, don't aim to satisfy so many women for whatever you want to get out of it and lose your life in the short run. Be careful what you take in, because what you take in can affect your kidney. Now, the next thing is that let's have the habit of regularly checking ourselves. Check your blood pressure, check your sugar, check your kidney function, check it. Don't just say, okay, me, I don't get sick, and so I'm waiting to get sick. But the waiting to get sick might be in 15% of your kidney function or 10% of your kidney function. So these are the habits. Smoking. Now, unfortunately, now shisha or so has become a fashionable thing that is even attracting the women. Let's be careful. Smoking is smoking. In as much as you are getting smoke into your system, it probably has, a cigar in it, or probably has nicotine in it, and all. Right. They destroy your kidney. They destroy your vessels. They destroy your heart. Let's stop all of these things. These are habits probably that people should be refraining from. Thank you.
Doc, hold for me. Let me also acknowledge Joining the conversation, Kwabena Mintah Akando. He is ranking member of the Health Committee of Parliament. Mr. Akando, good morning. Hello, Mr. Kwabena Mintah Akando. Can you hear me? Please unmute for me.
Can you hear me
unmute.
now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I hope you're well.
By God's grace, I'm fine.
All right, please hold for me. Mr. Entry, so Pharmacist Entry, I'd like to find out from you, from your standpoint, in terms of treating kidney disease. It's not just the dialysis. There are other medications and others that they have to use, but we also find out that the cost of that is ticking upwards. What is the reality for you who import such medication into the country or produce it? Mr. Entry, can you hear me now?
No, please, Ben. My connection went off.
I'm asking, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. I was just asking, you are in the business of pharmaceuticals. You bring in medication, you produce some of the medication. Specifically for kidney disease, what are some of the most frequently used medications that you have in stock, and how has that been impacted by the economic situation?
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. So, particularly for kidney disease, in fact, as Dr. rightly said, considering just kidney disease as in totality, you know, there are other comorbidities that come with it, like hypertension and diabetes, and so on and so forth. So, just separating kidney disease, you may have to bring in things like the erythropoietin, the epoietin, and then some other, even in some cases, there might even be some infection during the dialysis process that may occur, and then you would have to throw in some antibiotics. Then again, too, we have some class of medications we call the SGLT2 inhibitors, the Forxiga and so on, which is used, which helps in the situation. Currently, as it stands now, I must say most of these medications are very expensive. We should be frank. I want men's words on that. They are expensive.
About how expensive? Averagely and maybe to the highest of cost. About how expensive?
Some can go as high as 300 cedis per pack or 250, 300, 400. It can range that high, actually. And as it stands now, it is quite a burden on us as importers. You know, we were recently pushing for VAT removal on some medications. And we believe that if we want to help these kidney patients, we can just bring out these medications or just fence these medications and maybe push for a total removal of duty cost on these medications. Because with the duty costs and the VAT and all that, we are importing at almost about 40 to 50% of the cost of some of these medications.
Right.
And we believe that if we would want to help them...
Did you just say you were importing at 40 to 50% of the cost?
Come again, please.
Did you just say you are importing at 40 to 50% of the cost?
Exactly, in duty costs, at clearance. So that is what we are asking, that if there could even be a reduction, first of all, the VAT removal. You know, we initially pushed for some medications to have this, to enjoy some of these VAT exemptions, which is captured in the LI 2255. But then we are still asking that more medications, more prescription medication be pushed on there, so that if the total duty cannot even be reduced, the VAT component at least can be taken off for some of these patients to also have some breathing space or some cause the reduction in the cost of treatment.
Okay, so Mr. Entry, you've painted quite a picture for us. I just want you to state this briefly. In other words, it means that because of the cost, You can't do anything about what you translate to the consumer who buys it. Your hands are tied, right?
Exactly.
right.
Our hands are very tight.
All right. Hold for me. Mr. Akando, just hold for me. I also want us to hear the conversations from the studio. I'll come to you shortly, Mr. Akando. But let me come to Kweku Kwarteng and Desmond Enoch Bracco. Desmond, how long have you suffered from kidney disease? When did you find out you had kidney disease?
That's the year of 2015.
2015. How did you find out?
I saw it in my eyes.
Your eyes?
Yes.
What was going on?
It was black. When someone is coming from far place and the person wearing like yellow top, I see it's like...
Can you speak up a little bit for me?
I see it's like white dress. If you come closer to me, I see it's yellow.
So you started having color, figuring out color issues, and then you realized that there was something going on. And where did you go?
And I sent it to hospital at our area, Chibi Government Hospital.
Okay.
And they said they can't find anything in my eyes. So I sent it to Kofodia. They gave me a letter to go and see Kofodia. So I sent it to them, and they informed me and told me I have a kidney failure.
You had kidney disease.
Yeah.
When they told you that, how did you feel? Did you know this was what it meant?
Well, actually, no, I don't know nothing about it, about kidney. But the moment I heard, I think it's a very sickness. It can kill you this moment.
So you've been in this for 9 years.
Yes.
9 years. Let me quickly take Kweku Kwarteng as well. How long has it been? How did you discover that you had kidney disease?
Okay, actually, I went to clinic.
Okay.
So immediately I read there. The nurses have to check your blood pressure before they start any treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So they took my vitals. So they saw it that my BP was very high. Then the nurse told me that I should go and sit down for 30 minutes and come back. So, okay. So...
Because they wanted to be sure that it wasn't maybe coming in a hurry or something that had caused that.
Yeah. So in the next 30 minutes, I went there again, then they checked, it was still high. So they continued the process. At the time I realized it was 6 p.m.
Wow.
So the nurses called me to the senior doctor office, and then the doctor told me the condition of my blood pressure, they can't allow me to go home. So they want to admit me. At that time I wasn't sick, I'm okay. I was an apprentice. I was learning how to do house wiring and then electricals.
So for you, you felt you could perform your normal functions, so everything was okay.
Everything was working.
But things were not okay.
Yes.
And from there, what did it mean? Did they admit you?
Yes.
Okay.
So they told me I should put everything aside. They even told me I should put my phone aside. They monitor my BP for 2 days. Still, it was high.
Wow.
So they took that sample of me, because the doctor told us they have to check my kidney function because of the high blood pressure.
Right.
So they went to do some tests, and time my creatinine was, I think, 480. Urea 2 was a little high, I think 8. So
is that your BP you are talking about?
No.
That's because that's...
The BP was 197, 110.
Wow.
It was very high.
You were hitting almost 200.
Yeah.
The diastolic and the systemic.
Yeah.
Right.
So they took the blood sample for kidney function test. And then the results, the creatinine was, I think, 480. And then the urea 2 was, I think, 8. So the doctor advised us to come and see a specialist at Kuala Lumpur. That brought me to Accra.
Okay. And since that time, how many years has it been?
So I started 2016.
2016. So that's about 8 years.
Yes, sir.
9 years, 8 years. What has this meant practically on a daily level? Medication, dialysis, cost, your life. Were you able to complete learning the wiring?
I stopped that one, but I forced to do my HND, then do the top up. So now I'm an electrical engineer.
Okay. We thank God for that. But what has this meant to you in practical terms? I'll come to
Okay.
Desmond on that as
Practical
well.
terms that take a lot from me. You are joy. At times you may think there's no hope. Because when you see your colleagues, how people are suffering, at times you can't breathe, this one at the end. Times you may be on the machine with your colleagues and then they are dying, you see them.
You see people die?
Yeah, he lie beside you and then he's dying, you see.
That is those on dialysis?
Yes.
Sometimes it's going to be happening.
How does that make you feel?
It's not easy. But now it has become normal because you have seen a lot. So, but at the beginning, we were struggle.
Desmond, how have you been able to cope with the cost? Are you working?
I'm not working. I'm with my brother. My brother working, so I'm in his store.
Okay. Is it that you can't work because of the condition?
Yeah.
You can't work?
I can't. I mean, if you get a job, you want to do it. But if the person here, you have a kidney failure, you think you can't do it.
So even when there's work you can do, once they hear you have kidney issues,
Yes.
they stereotype you. They say you can't do the work.
Yes.
Have you experienced that too?
Yeah. I was part of those who were building urology and nephrology center at Kwalebu.
Right.
So the time they closed the dialysis unit, I was supposed to spend 2 days out of my week. I was a safety officer on the engineering board. But I have to use 2 days to go and search for machine outside. By the time I was doing it at Kwalebu, the unit is just close to my work. So I'll go and work 4 o'clock and then I'll come and do the dialysis and go home. But because they close it, I have to go to either Accra Medical, La Paz, or just moving and searching where there's. So I was working with white people, Portuguese, and then white people will not give you 2 days out of your week and expect to pay you. So because of that, they laid me off immediately we finished the project. So now I'm not working, I'm at home.
Desmond, cost. You are not working.
Yes.
Your brother is supporting you. You were telling me earlier, your mother is
They
sick.
are not supporting me anymore. If I don't work, they will not give me money. They use me to feed me just like that. I'm not getting money for the trip.
So you still have to find money?
Yes.
To feed yourself?
When I go home, I went to my colleagues so that I'll get something for it, so that I'll come for dialysis. I'm not getting anybody to support.
No one to support you. And your mother is also sick?
Yeah. She's in the house right now.
And now we've been told about, right before I go to Kwabena Mintakando, we've been told about the fact that dialysis treatment has moved from 380 cedis to 491.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you heard that, how did you make you feel?
The last time we went there, that was, I think it was Monday, he was there. And we were trying to do the dialysis, but they said the amount is not picking from 380 to, we didn't hear.
So you were taken by surprise?
Yeah.
Where did you go, Kwalebu?
Yeah. We went there and it was 380 last week. So I picked 380 for the, I went there, they said 490. How can I afford it? It left only my transportation. I'm from Chebi.
You come from Chebi?
Chebi, always. From 9 years, I'm from Chebi, coming to dialysis all the time.
Hey! Where do you come from to Kwalebu? Latebiokoshi. At least you are closer. Gentlemen, hold for me. Kwabena Mintakando, this is the situation. Desmond comes from Chebi every week. How many times do you come in a week?
I'm supposed to be here for twice, but the money, so I take only 1 week.
At least twice you should be coming. But because there's no money, you come once, you ration it.
Yes.
Kwabena Mintakando, you are ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament. I'm sure you're fully aware of the situation. I also know in the past there have been conversations about dialysis and how maybe the National Health Insurance Scheme could absorb the cost of it. We've heard that there's a benefactor at Kwalebu, but not at other places. I mean, how much do you know, and has Parliament approved this 491 cedis that they are supposed to pay currently?
Can you hear me, please? Is my voice clear?
It is very clear. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I have been very, very sad for the past 3 days. And if you could recall, we had this conversation for not less than 3 or 4 times on your show. And anytime this conversation comes up all over the country, all media houses call me. If you could recall, it was Kolebu who first announced an increment. And we came in to say, look, wait a minute, it was illegal. That was when I got a hint that they had sent a proposal to Parliament for the increment. And so around that time, the conversation was about reduction of the 380 or government taking the whole thing, absorbing the whole cost. So if you could recall again, the presidential advisor on health came out to say that the president was looking at an alternative, sustainable way of financing the dialysis. The then minister, Kwekwa Jimamanu, also came out to say that government was looking at a sustainable way of financing the dialysis. A lot of people, and so all the conversation was revolving around either an intervention or absorbing it in totality. So I quickly got in touch with the Subsidiary Legislation Committee chairman. In fact, this never came to the health committee. So when I got in touch with Dr. Ayini, he told me he also has the same position. They were not going to allow the increment of the cost of dialysis. And so later, and in fact, what happens is that when they bring these documents, it's voluminous, very big documents, thousands of items. So they don't bring it one by one. These emanate from the agencies to their mother ministries. Then the mother ministry will send it to the Minister of Finance. Then the Minister of Finance will bring it to Parliament. So sometimes thousands of items. So I'm told that these documents was brought to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, and at the meeting, this is what the chairman told me, they never agreed on increment of their cost. They told the Ministry of Finance to get back and waive the taxes and duties on the medications. And that is what they agreed on. And so this is a provision or regulation. After a discussion, it goes back and they lay. And once it is laid, after 21 days, it becomes law. You understand? And so, per what the committee, decided, there was no consensus or there was no agreement or there was no approval for any upward adjustment. Again, after all the noise government made about sustainable way of financing it, when they brought the 2024 formula, the National Health Insurance formula, there was absolutely no provision. I've heard the CEO of National Health Insurance grant an interview that government has made a provision of whatever. In fact, the CEO has no idea. It was a committee that insisted that, look, there has been this issue of dialysis, and so let's try and ring-fence something. And so the committee agreed to ring-fence 2 million Ghana cedis. We took it to the plenary and it was approved. And that 2 million can't do much. Out of the 8 cycles, the 2 million cannot even do more than 2 cycles. And so all we're all looking forward to here is government raising some funds or coming out with any innovations to absorb the total cost or some kind of interventions. Only to hear that government says Parliament has approved, an increment of the fees of dialysis. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Even if you cannot find a way of reducing it or absorbing all the costs, why do you have to increase it? Why? And Ghana would not be the first.
You're making it appear as though this were done on the blind side of Parliament.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Something can't be foisted on Parliament when you have not deliberated on it, right? The Hansard is there. It captures, the activities of Parliament.
That's a completely different thing altogether. Please, let me take you through this. This is pre-laying. So what happens is that such documents, such regulations, when it is laid, previously they don't even refer them to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. But due to one or two things, Mr. Speaker decided that, look, before such documents are laid, they will refer it to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee to probably to cross the T's and dot the I's. And so after referring to it, a lot of the discussions go on at the committee level. And then when it is done, sometimes
they will refer the documents back to the ministry, and once they do what has been agreed at the committee level, they go ahead and lay. And to be fair and to be very, very realistic with you, these are about, I'm telling you, it's about thousands of items. So when they are done, the assumption is that what has been agreed at the committee level has been captured. So it becomes very difficult for you to go through one after the other, about 1,000 items, one after the other. And so I have spoken to the chairman, and he tells me that, look, this is what, at the committee level, we never spoke about, we never discussed any increment. What we discussed was about the waiving of the duties and the taxes on the medication.
So let me get this clearly. What you're saying is that even the current increment, is it illegal?
Well, there are, as far as the committee is concerned, they never agreed on anything of that nature. But
please, hold for me. I want us to do this just so everybody understands. So the move from 380 cities to 491 cities, you have no knowledge of it?
I personally have no knowledge. And as far as I'm concerned, the chairman tells me the subsidiary legislation committee didn't agree on that. That is what he tells me. And as far as I am concerned, ranking member of the head committee, this never came to the head committee.
Wow. What is the next move then? What can be done from the committee level, from the parliamentary level? So our brothers and sisters are dying. They are watching colleagues die. And if the right things are not done, Desmond, who comes all the way from Tibi every week, he should come at least twice. He comes once because of cost. How can he afford it? What is the next move?
My brother, if anybody in the country has spoken about this issue, often, it's me. I've spoken about this issue on several occasions.
Yeah, but what is the talking yielding? That is the question. Talking, what is it yielding? You're a member of parliament.
That is what I can do. I don't hold the purse. It is a talking, that is my responsibility. So if the one who is supposed to implement it refuses to implement, what can I do? I do the talking. I bring pressure back to government. If government is deliberately not listening, my brother, tell me what next can I do? What can I do?
What do you want government to do? What can government do? I've heard talk about the NHIS and bringing people on board. What can government do?
Government is the one taking all the taxes in this country. Can't they do anything? Government can actually raise the funds and make it available for the operation of dialysis in this country. Why can't government do? In any case, there could be a balanced situation where we can raise 50% of the money from national health insurance. Look, like we do when we are buying vaccines, counterpart funding.
Hello? Well, let me bring in Dr. Tannor now on this angle as well. So looking at the things we've discussed in terms of management, right? What more can people do? What should people know? How much more can we try in our own ways to prevent ourselves from getting here? Yes, you've mentioned check your blood pressure often, go for medical checkups, among others. What more can we do, Dr. Tannor?
All right, so thank you very much once again. And I've actually listened to our leaders. Also come and join in the talking. So I'm wondering if our leaders will also be talking like we talk, and I'm not sure how we are going to solve the problem. And I was hoping that we'll get people also on the call who would get us answers, because what you people see as and when, once a while, we discuss dialysis, everybody feels sad about it. And afterwards, you go back to your normal lives, and I go back to these patients, and I see them every day, and it's very sad. So sometimes we need to talk solutions than, politicians now coming on, okay, what can I do? And I ask myself, not long ago, the other party was in power. What did they do? And we can go back and forth, but I think we need to sit down. Until kidney disease hits a family member of yours, until kidney disease hits a friend of yours, trust me, it is no joke. And we see it every day, and it is worrying. So I'm hoping that this conversation will lead us to get answers, not just a talk shop and then we move on. Having said that, to the ordinary person listening to me, yes, what can you do? And I think we need to own our health also. like we are hearing, if we are to put our lives in the lives of our politicians, chances are that when you run into trouble, you're going to run, you probably are not going to get help. And we are hoping that dynamic changes. And I'm hoping we are able to get to a point, I mean, that where the ranking member mentioned that indeed, just like people get malaria or enteric fever or typhoid, you call it, or hypertension, and they get some respite, how is it that you get kidney disease and you're on your own? And it is very expensive, like the pharmacist mentioned, that hefty taxes are placed on these medications. Now you are sitting in a place, you write medications and your patients cannot afford. And we have the people who can make these things change. And they also come and sometimes keep talking and hope that, okay, they throw something in. We need holistic solution to the dialysis crisis in this country. Let me talk now to the people who can who can listen and hopefully.
And please, Doc, if you can make that your final point so we can manage the rest of the time. I will come back to you for your final thoughts. Yes. So
I hear you. Thank you so much. All right. So in terms of the education, I think we've mentioned the key things. And trust me, some of the key things that we mentioned are simple enough. But if we are able to take care of it or do it well, we prevent a lot of things. How to prevent kidney disease is actually very simple. And even before your panelists in the studio actually mentioned how they got the kidney disease, I told you that chances are that it was through hypertension. And both of them mentioned things that actually shows that it was hypertension. The other one said that the first time he was well. And that is it. If you are walking around and you are well, I beg you, don't assume you are well. Please go and get things checked. Simple things like your blood pressure, we could pick it up. His creatinine was picked at about 400. If he had probably gone earlier, and it was picked at 100, chances are that would have delayed him getting to dialysis. So the first thing is that let's own our health. Right. And preventive health is cheap and it's easy. Everybody can do it. Once in a while, check your blood pressure and make sure that you know what it is. The eye thing is also a complication of the blood pressure. If your blood pressures are high, right, it can cause blindness. It can cause you not to see well. And that's what the other person mentioned. So that blood pressure thing is very important. And I think that it is important that, like we mentioned, that in terms of our diet, in terms of our exercise, in terms of once a year, if you can, check your kidney function. Ask of your family history. Your parents have diabetes, they have hypertension, or probably they had kidney disease. You don't speak to them. You think you are still young. Ask and know and check and be able to prevent yourself from getting it. Trust me, it is cheaper to prevent kidney disease. But when we get kidney failure, then it becomes expensive. And like we are seeing, right, even the government is running away from its cost.
Let me come quickly to Mr. Entry. You deal in the medication, you bring them in, you manufacture as well. What from your angle could be the solution? NHIS taking the tab or picking the tab? What quickly do you think could be the solution?
So as I earlier indicated, first of all is the hefty taxes that we face at the port. Secondly, as you rightly said, if NHIS can absorb some of these medications onto the list, and then again, even absorbing onto the list, cost will still come in, because if they absorb it onto the list and it is too high, it will be very difficult for the NHIS to reimburse. So it still comes back to the taxes. I believe that for such serious situations or for such serious diseases that can easily tip patients over into death, there should be some form of removal of total taxes. If we think about, let's say, the million drugs we use, just a few of them might be or fall in the category of the management of the kidney disease. And therefore, I believe, or the management of CKD. And therefore, I believe that if we just fence these few drugs and just strike off duty or reduce it to the barest minimum, it is going to go a long way to help these patients. Because look, considering some countries, they have some sort of fund which helps to reduce the cost of some of these medications for some of these patients. And if you consider some funding from some countries which reduce the medications or the cost of medication, the resultant effect is that patients will go to the hospital and the cost of treatment will be very, very low because the cost of drugs would be struck off totally.
Right.
So I believe that in our very near steps or in our very immediate steps, we can help cut off the taxes.
Okay.
And as I earlier told you, we are even pushing for VAT exemptions on some of the medications.
Right.
You know, medications are not things like food or, excuse me to say, cement or some things that maybe we can do away with, or when the cost is too high, it wouldn't affect us that much. Medications are very important. If you are pushing for things like VAT exemptions, I don't think that the powers maybe or those in charge should resist
so
us
this
in any
part
way.
of the solution, NHIS could intervene, and then VAT exemptions as well, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Entry. Let me come into the studio as we wrap this conversation. Doc, I'm sorry I cannot come back to you, but I'm sure you've made your point, right? Dr. Tannor, I'm sure you've made your whole point on these matters.
Yes, I think it is fine. So thank you very much.
Right. Desmond, where does this leave you? 380 to 491 cedis in one fell swoop. Where does this leave you? The last time you went, you were denied dialysis because you didn't have the money. Since that time, have you been able to go for dialysis?
Somebody called me and add the amount for it.
So someone was able to support you and you got it. But what does this mean for you now, this increment in cost? How are you going to manage?
It's on to God. Always give everything to God, because if government is not stand on it, He is holding us from since last year, and now you are telling Him this.
What do you want government to do?
I want Him to put it in NHIS, as the brother was saying. It's supposed to be in there.
So dialysis can be free, or maybe at a very reduced cost?
Because we see ourselves, we are young, we see. We get a small guess for like 13 years, 12 years, 8 years. And how can they afford?
And they also have kidney
failure, yes. 6 years also there. Yeah.
How can they cope?
How can they work and get the money to do the dialysis? So they have to be.
I also hear that at Kolebu there is a benefactor who is giving some subsidy for some of you who go there. Is that the reality? How much?
Okay. According to my president for dialysis patient, what I heard was, he said that one is taking half. Then we patient too are paying half.
I see.
That's why we are paying 380 at first.
That is the first.
So when we add the donation and then our payments, like 760 or
so. In actuality, now that it's gone to 491, it means that the real cost is about twice that.
760, they bring it out. It's working. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Because so the reality is the 760.
Why the person is paying like 2 sessions a week,
right?
And we are still paying 380. You understand?
Right.
If you said it's 380 and you are going to increase to 491, why the person is still paying the 3? It's First Sky who is paying that amount. Yes.
What do you want from government? What do you want from leaders in this country? What do you want from the health setup in the country?
Okay, we are pleading on them to either put it in the national health insurance or maybe solicit for some funds to reduce the cost for us.
You know, this is not a place any one of us would willingly want to be. And it really breaks my heart that young people like this are, experiencing what they are. It is heartbreaking. And I would also plead, he has mentioned one group that is aiding. Corporate Ghana, if you can, these people are actually suffering. Some of them are dying on a daily basis. If help can be extended, please, let's help. Until the right mechanisms are put in place. Corporate Ghana, come on board. Do something. Partner the multimedia group. Partner Joy News. Let's do something. I'll give the final comments, the final word to Kwabena Mintah Kandor. You have just about a minute and then we can go. The way forward from here. Kwabena Mintah Kandor.
The way forward from here is that, fortunately, Parliament is sitting on Friday. I'll try if I can catch the eye of Mr. Speaker to bring this matter to the floor so that we see how going forward, we can find solutions to these challenges. But let me say that as a member of parliament and a ranking member of the committee, our work is more than 80% talking. It is the responsibility of the executive to implement the talking. So let us put the blame where the blame must be.
Okay.
All these things, if the executive had come out to say that, look, we are absorbing the cost, we wouldn't have been where we are at the moment. We have been speaking about this issue for the past 1 year. They will come and they will also come and speak and they go back and they don't do anything about it. It is even at the committee level that we insisted, not the executive, that something must be put in for the dialysis patient. And so we will still, not until we get a solution, some of us will not relax on it at all.
Well, thank you for that effort, Kwabena Mintah Akando. Let me acknowledge those who joined us. Pharmacist Ronald Entry is Assistant General Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. We also had Dr. Elliot Kranting Tannor, Senior Lecturer at KNUST, Senior Specialist and Consulting Nephrologist at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. We had Kwabena Mintah Akando, Ranking Member on the Health Committee. We also had in the studio Kweku Kwarteng, a kidney patient on dialysis, together with Desmond Enoch Brackle, also a kidney patient. Pardon me. You are the executives?
Organizer and my assistant.
Okay. So the organizer and the assistant. I like the fact that at least we are ending on a cheerful, laughing note. But from here, we're heading straight to Abossey-Okai. You know, Guta has lamented the free fall of the cedi and what it means to their business. On our Citizens microphone today, we head to Abossey-Okai with the spare parts dealers. My colleague Sweetie Abochi is on hand. Sweetie, if you can hear me, please paint a picture for us of what you see on the ground.
This has dire consequences for economy. You'll agree with me that the transport industry or the transportation sector is one of the backbones of every economy, be it fuel that we're importing or parts of the cars. All these are heavily dependent on the purchasing power of our currency. And if the currency is not doing well, businesses are the ones who feel the pinch. Now, today we are at Abossey-Okai. When we talk about the transportation sector, I like to think that this is where everything happens. And we want to understand from the citizens how this is affecting them, what they would like to be done about it, and really just understand the real situation.